Hello everyone, my name is Sarah.
My name is Cora.
I'm Pranav.
I'm Millette.
And today we will be telling you about the importance of the audience on the superhero industry.
So I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that everyone in this room likes money, has a lot of benefits. So does the superhero industry. And the question that we have proposed today is that in order to gain more revenue, how does the superhero industry change its products to satisfy its audience? And the solution that we propose is that the superhero industry incorporates feedback that reflects the audience's interest to satisfy them and generate revenue. Now we're going to explain further, but at first, Pranav is going to explain to you guys what an audience is.
Now, in order to understand this question better, we need to understand who the audience is and what they're talking about. Now, every year people get their salary and they want to prioritize where they want to put their money. Do they want to go watch a movie? Do they want to go to a theme park? Do they want to buy a video game based on superheroes? We want them to like our products so much that they will go to superhero theme parks, buy superhero comics, buy superhero movies. And this can apply to anyone, anywhere in the world. Anyone can go and buy these books. That's the goal that the superhero industry wants to make.
So one of the most prominent examples on how the superhero industry was changed by the audience is during World War II. Now during World War II in the late 1930s, there was high tension across the country. People were afraid of getting attacked. The government needed more funding to provide for the military, which meant higher taxes for the citizens. And companies were desperate for a workforce due to the labor shortage that the war has produced. That is why superheroes were so popular. According to Aaron Clancy, a curator at Skirball, superheroes provided an escapist form of entertainment for the American nightmare. They allowed the audience to go into this fantasy world in which they could ignore all the wrongs of the world and all the ills of the world were righted by these superheroes. That led to the industry exponentially growing. The industry saw that the audience needed and they wanted a superhero to place hope upon, so they created more content for them. That content then led to further revenue, which allowed them, well obviously, further revenue would motivate the superhero industry to make more, but it also allowed for them to further accommodate for their growing audience. Now Millette with changing ages.
Okay, so originally comic books were created as a form of escapism for the audience going through the Great Depression, and it kind of allowed them to just kind of get away from the hardships that they were facing in the world and be enveloped in a reality where everything seemed like it was okay, like it was fine. And the audience that typically read these comic books were a dominant male child population. And even after the Great Depression, the superhero industry was still producing comic books that appealed to the younger child audience. Okay, so eventually the audience grows up, they turn into adults, and these adults couldn't really relate to the material that was in the comic books they read as children. They wanted something that they could relate to and something that they could connect with. And as a result, at first, larger corporations didn't really take they didn't accommodate to what the older audiences wanted and just kept producing G-rated materials for the younger audiences. But individual comic book authors who didn't really worry about newsstand sales or follow the comic code guidelines produced graphic novels that the older audience would appeal to. And once the larger corporations saw the success of these the graphic novels produced by the individual authors, they also abandoned following the comic codes and began producing published works that could appeal to their older audience. This increased the revenue for the superhero industry, which shows and proves that the superhero industry accommodates to the audience's desires.
Okay, so this was Harsh's slide, but we're going to go over it really fast. So who in here has ever felt underrepresented by the media in terms of race and culture? Okay, that's what Stan Lee thought. Stan Lee was a creator of Black Panther, and he was created in the 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement. He wanted to make a black hero that was just as strong, just as powerful, and just as everything as the white superhero was. Black Panther often addressed social issues such as discrimination, and more people became supportive of his cause. That made the industry think. They thought, well, if people liked it and we earn money off of it, shouldn't we make more of it? So that's what they did. And with that, they diversified the industry. They made more characters that appeal to other audiences as well. And examples include Kamala Khan, which is Miss Marvel, and she is a Muslim girl. And by making this hero, they could expand their viewers and generate more revenue at the same time.
Now for social media influence, for some background on our example of Deadpool was originally made, or it was teased as the production team didn't really see the potential in it. However, the test footage was released onto YouTube and it gained millions of views and lots of support. And through this, fans messaged people, the producers on social media, and said, hey, put this into production, it'll be great. And so that's what they did. And from the fan support, it was put into production and now is one of the most popular R-rated movies up to date. And this shows how fans can now speak directly to the creators of their favorite comic books and movies and give their feedback on what they think of the situation and what they're making. And through that, the industry can earn more revenue by listening to the fans' requests and demands.
Okay, so every day we sit in our every weekend we sit in our living room. Okay, so we should need to watch a movie. So we may turn on Transformers or Pirates of the Caribbean. But there are people outside of the U.S. that also like these. According to an article by Mark Sweeney, these brought in more revenue outside of the U.S. than within the intended audience. This means that there is motivation for the industry to expand outside the U.S. Now, the average Indian child might say, hey mom, my friend, he was in America, he was eating this thing called McDonald's. He said it was so good. But the thing is, there's beef in that. How am I going to do it? How am I going to eat that, you know? She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. You can't eat that. But now they come up with this new product which is adapted to this India called the Paneer Passion. Oh, good. Now it's the same quarter pounder except without any beef. So similarly, the superhero industry can change its product such that taboos that other countries may have, they don't experience the same thing. So now on social media you can go and say, hey, friend in the US, look, I watched the same movie and look, it had Indian people just like me eating this quarter pounder. I feel so like involved into the process. Now, according to a TED Talk by Oliver Scalabre, there is the fourth manufacturing revolution is upon us. Currently, the U.S. is an autonomous business, which means every month they can give out books, they can give out movies, and it generates revenue. It's like, hey, what are you going to do today? Oh, let's go to the theater and watch a superhero movie. That's what Americans do. But outside, they don't have these sort of facilities where they can interact with the U.S. superheroes. Therefore, along with these hubs that they create, once they get a foothold in other countries, they too can be autonomous. And then it comes to the thing of franchising and outsourcing, which means they can hire foreign directors and foreign movie book creators, and they can get them to be autonomous in their own countries, which means that they're pulling revenue not only from the U.S. but also from foreign markets. Now, this brings me to the other motives they may have besides money. Now, they also have a legacy right now. Okay, so you see every Halloween, 100 years from now, it's probably likely there's somebody going to be dressed up as Batman. It's also globalization. You're talking to your friend overseas about the superhero. And equality, of course, everybody wants to see themselves on the big screen, you know. Oh look, there's me!